Your life experience, good or bad, is a gift when you share it with others. At Taxi Chronicles, we allow real riders with real stories to share their gift. So hopefully this episode will intrigue, enhance or inspire you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we are honoured to have an innovative entrepreneur who's come up with a system that is actually quite it's close to home for me, based on something I would have needed when I started my own business. So I will let him explain his revelation. Nice to have you here today.
Thank you. Nice to be here on such a wonderful day. So I was just explaining that the business that I'm in, so it's partially company formation, so we help entrepreneurs take that first leap into becoming a limited company within the UK. It's actually quite a straightforward process, and we do that through an online platform called the Formations Company. And what we do is we detangle and make clear, using plain language, the process you have to go through, and we supply and store for life your articles of incorporation, your memorandum and articles, and also any shareholdings or anything that is required for you to do by law or retain by law. So we hold those securely for free for the entirety of your business, and you can use our service to do your annual returns, and you can take free advice off our customer service because we offer free customer service. And this isn't a subscription product. It ranges from £20 all in, including VAT, to a higher package where we'll handle all your mail services, so you can use our address, our city address, as your registered address, so you don't have to make public your home address, and that service goes up to £79. Again, that's a one-off fee, and that is a product for life. The other side of the business is trying to democratise law. In the Western world generally, there is a disparity between companies who are very well off and people who are just starting out, as in the private the private sector as well. It seems that the rich people seem to have unfettered access to legal advice and services, and therefore are much better served by it. Whereas the rest of the individuals or companies in this case, especially startups, they don't have huge funds, and also there's a lot of unease about having a solicitor or getting a solicitor, because what sort of solicitor do I need? Do I need a corporate? Where do I find one of those? What's the retainers going to be? When do the fees be incurred? And a lot of times, a lot of the issues are very simple. You want a contract read, you need something small produced, like an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, or you want an employee contract, and if you do these things individually with solicitors, once you find one, they can be very expensive. And as a small business, what you want to do is manage your money. You know your expenditure up front. So what we've produced is a company that has a lot of legal products and legal services and templates, and we will advise you on how to use those. All at set upfront fees, and they're all around you can get access to nearly 1,000 of our documents for less than £10 a month. We also have a credit checking service. Again, it's only £10 a month, and we have done a deal with Experian, who backs the product, that will allow you to load in all your customers, or any customers that you have that you might give trade credit to, and this will give you a constant monitoring about what their credit worthiness is, and if there's an issue with that company or there's an issue within that industry, and it will give you email alerts, and then it will help you through the process to claim any debt that may have been incurred, but it also mitigates your risk to going out of business or incurring a huge debt from a company that wouldn't be creditworthy. So it's services like that we've created and that we've made available, and they're all designed at small businesses, so small to medium businesses, so sub 5 million turnover. And what we want to do is cradle growth there. So we help people form, but then we help them with all those other things that you didn't get into business for. You didn't, if someone gets into business to become a hairdresser, for example, there are some licenses and public liability and indemnities that you have to get. So we'll help you do that, and we'll help you and we'll advise you we have products that will help you with your accounting, debt recovery, all those sorts of things. We want to take the clutter out of doing business so you can concentrate on the skill that you have of cutting people's hair or being a mechanic or whatever your business is. We want to allow you at a reasonable upfront cost to be able to do that business and not fall into the pitfalls of all the different hurdles small businesses have to jump in the UK market at the moment.
That sounds very very good, very interesting, and everything. What I have to ask is, what motivates you? Because there's a motivation that came out of this, that motivated you to get to where you are doing this. So what motivates you?
Well, it started with my own experience, really. I started a company when I was very, very young, and that quickly closed because I just didn't know what I didn't know, and that's a big problem for people going into business. And I decided to go down the corporate route and work for some big corporate companies, and my last real job for an employer was with Barclays Bank, and I worked in their small business division, and I decided that I wanted to give it another go. Now I think I had the skills and the knowledge under my belt, and I was found wanting a little bit, but not as bad as the first time, because I didn't go out of business. But my company morphed from an idea I had to sell training materials and on a training platform really into assisting small business, because it was the same thing all over again. It was like trying to find a company that I could form with and that would help me through that process without taking my business away from me, or that I could trust, and that was really difficult. And I realised that actually it needed some simple technology just to link with Companies House, become almost an authority on this, but do everything digitally. And it was at a time where they wanted to help people do this digitally. They wanted to move away from a paper system. So it was good timing, but it's also everything. My motivation was basically born out of the difficulty I had to form my own business. And the business grew from then on, because the second area I had problem with was accounting and legal. So we've moved into all those areas to sort of put our arms around small businesses to help them, because the biggest problems you have is forming, accounting, legal and HR. And we cover all of those things. So there's a safety net of, okay, if you've got a question, here's the answer to it, and here's the answer from someone you can trust.
What's the umbrella your company comes under, as in, is it a legal firm, a consultancy?
Well, it's a legal firm and a business services firm. So the company does have solicitors. It is a legal entity. It's regulated by the SRA, and the formations element is regulated by Companies House, and we're registered with those. So it's a regulated business, so we have to conform with all of the ramifications that being part of those entities entails, and we're obviously regularly checked. And the company itself has its ISO as well, so we've decided to do that independently, so that gives customers a level of trust.
Yeah.
And we partner with some big people, Experian, Barclays Bank, you know, people like that, and they go through their own rigorous checks to make sure that you're worthy to deal with their clients, and
your history. You look at your history and where you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Two questions. How long have you been around, and what have you learned from running businesses in general that you wish you knew when you started?
Well, through my first ever business experience, it was really how important cash flow is. And one of the things I've definitely learned is your main asset is your people. Surround yourself with good people, and take care of them, and make it a place to work that people want to come to. We all have to work. Not many of us get up every morning and spring to work, but if you can make the environment nice, and you've got the right people around you, then it doesn't make it such a chore. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. What's the future hold for you?
So the business itself has attracted a lot of attention from larger businesses who want to emulate these separate components under one roof. We're in discussions to make that happen.
They want to. So when you say emulate, do they want to buy into you or buy?
Correct.
Okay.
A combination with buy or buy into, and that's all for discussion. But which is very exciting, because that, you know, in injection from a corporate entity, it would help us take this to a much wider audience, if not globally.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So what I was thinking is, someone said to me, obviously I'm in the social media world, is that we sell a lot of digital products, and a lot of people are trying to sell digital products to Western countries, but what you really want to do is look at digital products to other continents, Africa, Asia, because a lot of things, their mindset is anything Western is good, but they don't usually get things in their own language. So if you had your same model and you could present it in their language, then you'll probably, and a lot of people haven't delved into that area as of yet.
Well, small business is very difficult to market to in any country because it's so vast. The only big companies that really have a lot of small businesses in their portfolio are people like banks, because they're a necessity, and utilities. If you've got an independent company that wants to sell something to small businesses, it's very difficult, because how do you market it? What's your marketing strategy? Because you're marketing to every different walk of life, because that's what small businesses are. But small business in the UK makes up, 98% of our economy. It's only a small percentage that is taken up with the really big people, because there's not that many of them. But they're very important, but actually the lifeblood of most economies, in the UK, the US, for example, Australia, is small businesses. Now, there is a disparity between some of the emerging countries and sort of developed, because it's the money that's involved. So you look at the average turnover of a business in the UK versus India, for example, is vastly different. But if you can find products that genuinely help, and it's not just in the translation into their own language, but it's in every country in Europe, for example, the company formation process is different. And like in Germany, it's nearly a 6-week program. €1,000. And so, and whereas here, if we pulled over now, fired up the formationscompany.com and tried to form a company, we'd have you formed in 2 hours, and it would cost you 20 quid tops.
Big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, But now it's one thing that the UK government have done where they've tried to remove the red tape from forming businesses, and they're streets ahead of anyone in the world. And a lot of countries come and now look at the UK model. Now, it's not perfect. Anything that's run by the government is never perfect. That's why there's opportunities for people like me, where I take their system, make it easier to use and easier to understand, and deliver it direct to the public.
Yeah, right. So that's really good. I'm just thinking of all the people who would really need that. From the lots of influencers who have to. I'm not sure if they're classified as a company, as an influencer, but their name is usually their brand, and they get a lot of money. I was looking on TikTok last week. The 7 biggest earners on TikTok last month was 2.7, 3.3, and 2.2, and some other figures, million for that week. Do you know what I mean?
That's good money.
So maybe they need your services.
Yeah.
That's one way, But I was thinking also when you said about when you're looking at small businesses, how to reaching out to them via banks. But I don't know if you're big on social media, but social media, you just put your hashtag small business. You put your hashtag of your company name, but you put small business, and you get someone to blog about, are you having these troubles with a small business, and you'll get that audience. I wouldn't have thought you necessarily need the bank in the way you maybe. Well,
we try and do both. So we have a website. We work with an agency that help us with our SEM, so our search engine marketing, and all our PPC. We have had hits and misses with social media. I think it's much more, when we first started, it was less important. People weren't acquiring through Facebook or Instagram or things like that, whereas now that's changed. And it's much bigger process. And it's far more accepted, but demographics are playing a part in that, because as that younger generation who were born with this are now getting to the age of, I'm leaving school and I want to start a business, or I'm going into employment, that's changing, and it's becoming ever more important. So I agree with you. Yes, there's a whole strategy to explore and develop there, and it's something else I want to get into. I want to get back into not just small businesses. I want to democratise law for everyone. I mean, for free or for a very small fee, if I could do something with student unions where you get a free service, or a service that's very cheap to subscribe to, where we'll pre-read your mobile phone contract, or your first lease agreement for your flats or your student accommodations, or we'll help you with those types of things. There's a place to go where you go, can you just check this for me? And quite quickly, we have technology now that can scan a lot of these things, and once that scales, we work with the we know that O2 or EE will be offering this or this. We're not just trying to be a price comparison site, it's trying to give people the insight of what signing that bit of paper means and what your liability is, so you don't get yourself into trouble, or you don't, your rights with your landlord, for example. And that's the problem. A lot of people get away with stuff because people don't know their rights, or are very scared to try and stand up for their rights. One of the biggest sources of legal advice in the UK for businesses now is, the top 3 are Google, the second one's accountants, and the third one is friends and family. If I can say one thing clearly as possible, never ask any of those 3 people, Google, accountants, or your friends and family, for legal advice. That's the worst thing you could ever do.
Or accountant.
It's like going to a mechanic.
Accountant's not a legal
No,
person. He's a lawyer,
they're not lawyers. They can't give legal advice. There's no liability if they give you legal advice and it ruins your company, unless it's something to do with their accounting. So it's always try and get to a solicitor. What people don't realise is that most solicitors will give you a half an hour or 40 minutes consultation free to see if they can the case is for them, and you'll get plenty of advice off that as well. And you should also be able to ask, how much is it going to cost up front? And then there are websites like ours that will help businesses on that journey. It has been a bit of a minefield for small businesses, but even so, as I say, the large part of our economy is made up by them. So if entrepreneurs are a resilient bunch, it would be nice to help them out a bit more.
Okay, that's good. That's good. What would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Determination for stuff is there's common things people say, never take no for an answer, but persistence is always good in business. You're not going to succeed every time. If you're going to fail quickly, and then get on and try and do things right first time. But I think it would be believe in yourself and work hard. The harder you work, people who get to the top of their games, it's very, very, very rare that it's by pure luck. People have said to me throughout my life, and you're really lucky to have got where you are. I don't remember the lucky days. I remember working for, when I started my business, it was from my savings. And when my friends out of uni were all taking years out and travelling the world, I was working. And then, when I started my company, I had to build everything myself because I didn't have money for it, so, and there's all sorts of costs you just don't realise, and you have to build these things, and you work hard and you'll reap the rewards. I don't know anyone in my life who isn't a solid grafter that hasn't done quite well for themselves. And people measure success in different ways, your health, your family, friends, but and money's always a good way of keeping score, of how well you've done, but it's not the be all and end all. It's actually a quality of life, and as you get older you realise that it's not, there's when I was very ambitious, when I was very young, I was always chasing a paycheck, but you kind of realise after a while it's not just that.
Well, thanks a lot. You've been a great guest. Last question is, what's the impact you want to have on the world?
Well, it'd be nice if we could democratise law. If we could help everyone have fair access to legal and professional advice, not just the privileged few.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for that. And I wish you well. Before we finish, where can people find you, your company?
Well, theformationscompany.com, and there is a bigger version of that called legalzoom.co.uk or legalzoom.com.
Right, can you just spell that for the people who may not?
So legal as in legal and Zoom, so LEAGLE and Zoom ZOOM.
Okay. Thanks a lot for that, and we wish you well.
Okay. All right.
We hope you liked that Taxi Chronicles interview. Don't forget to share and subscribe to get the latest episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economies and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources. Listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. British Standard Time.